plant and the white and stuff.
Oh, I need you to send me another one.
Okay.
I did see it, but I needed a... Yeah, try and give me another video and then zoom in a little more. It might be mealybugs, but I'll give it a look.
Another plant I thought was dying is starting to come back, I think, with this spring weather, which is cool.
What plant was it?
I don't know.
Okay. You should send me a picture of that one, too.
I'll send you a picture of it, yeah. But it's starting to sprout leaves again, so that's cool.
Nice.
And, yeah, once I get a little more money, I'm going to buy that jade bonsai, which will be cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I want more plants, man. That table it's big enough for
I was going to ask you, how's the table? Are you liking it?
I'm stoked. It's about 85% of what I wanted to be, and that's okay. You know,
yeah.
I think there's one end board that I messed up on, thinking I was going to try to attach another fence, like do a border of fence boards, but I ended up putting it below that board, and so. But other than that, the urethane that I put on, I really like the color. I thought it like really brought out the color, which was cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I'd like the shelf or whatever that next level.
But you do.
But I now that I'm like look at it, I like it more.
Yeah.
And it's good for one of my plants because it just keeps growing and it's just going to keep dropping down. So.
Yeah.
And I can put like books in between it or records if I want to build it out a little bit more.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you can kind of do a couple different things because you made it big enough. That's the nice part.
Yeah. The only thing I needed to figure out now is because it gets so hot upstairs in the summer is where I'm going to put my AC.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But other than that, it's great. I'm stoked.
You just need a window, right?
Just need a window, but I guess I could put it in my room, but it gets so hot in the living room space, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right,
you want to dive into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Bring us in.
Sounds good. What's going on, everybody? It's High Country Hangouts episode 24, and I'm here with Schyler. What's going on, man?
Yo. How's it going?
Yo. It's good. We've been looking at some different plants this week. It's been busy at the greenhouse, so I picked a plant that I've been working with a lot this week. So I got some good pictures of it, and everybody should be able to check it out. So
nice. And what are we talking about this week?
Yeah, so I decided to go ahead and introduce everybody to the geranium. The common name for it is the cranesbill. And you can kind of see that from the blooms. It looks like a crane's head, so it makes a little bit more sense.
Awesome. What are we learning about it? What's some cool facts?
Yeah, so there's 422 different species of geraniums. Wow. Some of them are annuals, some of them are biannuals, and some of them are perennials. So a little bit of everything in the geranium family. The word Geranos is derived from an ancient Greek word meaning crane, so that's also kind of where the common name cranesbill comes from. Yeah, geraniums were discovered in South Africa and brought back to England in the early to mid 17th century, so they're pretty dang old. In 1786, Thomas Jefferson shipped some from France to America, and then they became kind of popularized here. So you will be able to see a bunch of geraniums in like English gardens or European gardens. They're very common, especially the ivy geraniums. So if anybody's kind of seen those geraniums in the English gardens, that's kind of where the ones from America started and are kind of derived from. Jumping into the different kinds of geraniums, I just mentioned ivy geraniums. There's also zonal geraniums and then perennial geraniums. Those are kind of like the three different categories. The ivy geraniums, they have a hardiness zone of 9 to 12, and they generally are an annual unless they're brought indoors for the winter. They do tolerate full sun, and they're probably the most sun tolerant out of all the geraniums. The zonal geraniums are also sun. They like full sun, but they're not quite as tolerant to the heat as the ivy geraniums are. The ivy geraniums get their name because they kind of have a trailing growth pattern, and the leaves resemble kind of an ivy-like leaf shape. And the soil requirements for it are moist, well-draining soil that's nutrient rich. So they're kind of finicky because they like a lot of nutrients. That can make them kind of more on the difficult side to grow if you're not familiar with those different kind of soil requirements.
Is that
So
important
yeah,
for a bunch of plants?
it's pretty important. Some are more important than others, I guess. I would say geraniums are more of a hungry plant. They like them. They like quite a bit of nutrients all the time. Whereas, like I was telling you about lettuce last week, that requires much less nutrients, and it can kind of establish itself in soil that's not ideal. Whereas geraniums, if the soil's not ideal, it'll probably just die. Is the thing.
Okay. What'd you have flying in front of you there? Little fluff?
A little fluff, a little Tonks hair fluff right
Oh,
there.
nice.
Um, Yeah, so the ivy geraniums and the zonal geraniums are both annuals. The zonal geraniums are a little bit more showy, I would say. They're used in hanging baskets as a centerpiece because they kind of have a little bit more of an upright growing pattern, and they have more of kind of like a lily pad leaf structure. They have the same hardiness zone as the ivy geraniums, which is the 9 to 12. And like I said, they do like it full sun. Something about the zonals that's a little different than the ivies is that they're known for bright color variations and showy blooms. So they're kind of a little bit more of the showy geranium, where the ivy is a little bit more heat tolerant, a little bit less maintenance, but not quite as showy. All right, and then finally we got perennial geraniums. Those are geraniums that are going to be able to come back every year in your garden in colder climates. So the hardiness zone on these are zones 3 through 9. So if you're living in Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, anything like that, there's several types of perennial geraniums that you can grow, and they will come back every year. Um, let's see. So one thing about the perennial geraniums, it's kind of hard to tell if they're alive or not because all of the leaves will die on the top and they'll just look like soil. And one way to tell if they're doing all right is press on the crown of the plant. And if the crown is still firm, that means that your plant is healthy and it's just kind of in a dormancy period. Once that crown gets kind of mushy or soft, that's bad news and it probably means your geranium's not doing very well or even has already died.
Damn.
Yep.
R.I.P.
Um, I know. So, other than that, I mean, the perennials are pretty similar to the annuals because they do like full sun. They will tolerate part shade in the afternoons because they don't love it if it's super hot. But yeah, they also like well-draining soil. They're not quite as nutrient hungry as the annuals, so you can get away with a little bit less nutrient-rich soil. One thing about geraniums is you want to allow them to dry out between waterings, so they like that dry out period and then a soak down period. You can deadhead, which means pull off the spent blooms to encourage more blooms throughout the year. You can do that with like petunias and pansies, and these are kind of the same way. Yeah, and so then the last thing I'll tell you about them is some of the medical uses or the medicinal purposes of these guys. Geranium oil has been used for a long time, and it has quite a few medical uses. The first one being an anti-inflammatory, so people use it topically for eczema, psoriasis, and acne, and it can kind of help with those, kind of similar to the echinacea. But One thing about the geranium oil is it's also an antibacterial and an antifungal. So it's effective against infections and any kind of wound that you have. It'll help heal it without getting any kind of bacteria infection. Um, Another medical use for the geranium is that it has astringent and hemostatic properties, which means that it kind of helps tighten blood vessels and reduce bleeding. So any kind of bruises that you have, you can kind of put that on top and it'll prevent blood from pooling as much as it would if you didn't use it. Another thing about it is it has a sedative or a calming effect. The geranium oil does. So people diffuse the oil, or they also kind of make teas out of it, which you can kind of consume and have a calming or relaxing effect from it. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's kind of the medical uses of the geranium flower. So, anybody ever feeling under the weather, maybe check it out. I'm feeling like that. I might need to do that. So,
Yeah, report back. Let us know.
yeah. Absolutely, man. And yeah, that's kind of all I got on the plan of the week. So if anybody has any questions or comments about geraniums, let me know. I got lots of info on them, so always happy to chat.
Heck yeah.
There's a Doge.
It's a Doge. Looking outside. We just played ball for like 30 minutes before we started this. He is
Nice.
He is tired. He likes
Is
ball.
he all healed up from the
Getting fixed?
fixins? Yeah.
Yeah, he's ready to party. He's a little crazy, huh, buddy? But in a good way. You crazy boy. You're reactive, as you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess photo of the week. I sent you some pictures. Did you see them?
I did, yeah. I've been seeing a lot of these guys around my parts of the woods too.
Yeah, a couple geese. As spring is springing, or spring is sprunging, or sprung is springing.
Sprung up.
The geese are making their way back to Montana and all over the West. It's cool, every year this time, because there's the pond and then the river. These geese are making their way back. It's the same geese every year. What's interesting right now, though, is I only see 3. And so last year there was 4. There was a mom, dad. They had their geeslings, and I think there was like 5 or 6 of them. And then I think at least 4 of them may have died. And so 2 of them made it throughout the summer, and you got to see them grow throughout the summer, which is really cool. And so I don't know which one died, because they're all kind of the same size now. And I don't know geese that well, but it looks like one of them has not made it back to the greater.
I wonder if there's ever like a situation where he kind of like joins a new pack or a new flock,
I think they're pretty. Once they have their mate, and so.
Do the kids always stay with their parents though?
I don't know about that. I don't know if I think that's the case. So
okay.
Maybe it's the mom and dad with one of the goslings, or the younger geese, and then
one of them just won't leave home. He's like, I'm trying to find a girlfriend, but I can't, guys. And they're like, please leave the nest, dog.
Yeah. And the dogs yesterday, like, they just took right after him on the riverbed, so I had to give him a good yell and be like, hey, don't be chasing those geese. But yeah, it's been cool, man. It's like all the deer are coming back out, and also a couple days ago, I get woken up by thinking it's my alarm going off. It's like just this really high-pitched noise, or I thought something maybe in the house was like an alarm in the house was going off. It's hard to explain what the noise was, but I look outside and like, oh shit, there it is. The coyotes are back too, and so the coyotes start coming back to the property this time of the year too. So we're getting the coyotes and the deer and the geese, and then here in the next few weeks, the moose are going to start joining them, and then the bears.
Nice.
Not the football team, the bears, but the real life bears.
The brown and do you have black bears? You have both, right?
Yeah, we have grizz and brown and black.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. Come right up to the house, and yeah, I'm interested to see what the puppy will think. Cause hey, no, he likes to bite his tail, post tail, and he needs to not do that.
I was
Um,
abnormally curious about those geese. I looked it up, and it says that goslings often stay with their parents for their entire first year, especially in larger subspecies, and may even remain with them for their first migration, which
okay.
must be longer than a year. And then it also says during migration, goslings travel with their parents in a V formation, learning the migratory routes, and then after their first year, some goslings may form into groups with other juvenile geese before eventually pairing off and finding their own mates.
Cool. Thanks for looking that up. That's so that kind of explains the theory then. Then one of them maybe
Yeah,
took off, and then
he might not be dead. Yeah, he might have found his own little flock, or maybe he found a mate.
yeah, and one of them is still hanging around. Hopefully that's the case, because
Mm-hmm.
it's fun. It's fun when they come back, man. It's always like spring's here. I know we all know that with the calendar and everything and the way the weather is, but for me, it's when the animals start to be more prevalent around this area because for months it's just quiet and cold and
Yep.
desolate.
You don't see any tracks really. It's just pretty still.
Yeah. What are you doing, Poe?
Are you getting an itch to get out and go fishing soon? Or?
I actually threw a line yesterday.
Nice. How was it?
Oh, it was nice. It was good to just throw the line. Put on a nymph and no luck. But that's okay. It was
That's
nice.
part of it. Yeah.
Yep. And
I
honestly,
gotta get a line in the water soon.
yeah, honestly, I don't know if it'll be good in this spot for till fall or July. So we'll see.
I live by a bunch of ponds, so I've never really fished any of the ponds around my place, and there's like different fish you can catch there. You can catch largemouth bass. So I was like,
Oh, you should totally go do that.
maybe I should go try and do that. Yeah, I've never done that.
That'd be sick, man.
But everybody I know who catches those things, they use like a spinner reel. So I think that's probably what I'd use too.
Fuck, no, don't be like that. Don't be.
He
like
says,
that.
"Don't do it, dude."
Take that fly rod out there and get like a woolly bugger or a big nymph, and then with the nymph you'll put that little bobber on, and then throw that shit out there, and
All
trust
right.
me, you're gonna be like having way more fun when you're catching
That was
it on
more
a fly
fun.
rod, and
Yeah.
everyone's catching it on a spinner.
Yeah, that's true.
And honestly, I'm just talking shit on people that like to use spinners. On it, who cares? If you want to catch a fish on a spinner, catch a fish on a spinner.
We care. We don't fish spinners. We only fish flies.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my photo of the week. Nice little conversation on the geese and some knowledge for you folks that Tad looked up, so that's cool.
Yeah, I like the just on the photos, the black and white with the geese. It's just like it almost looks the same because they're very like black and gray and kind of brown, but it has like a cool aesthetic when you do black and white with the geese because they're already kind of close to that. So
Yeah, man, and then the detail, I think the detail on the black and white's better too.
it's a little sharper, crisper,
a little
maybe.
sharper. Yep, and it's the way the lighting is a little bit too, and yeah, some fun pictures. Trying to get out every week now, more so, and get some photos of things around the property or wherever. Now that spring is here, it's feeling nice to get out and about.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. It'd be cool if you could take pictures of like snowflakes. That would be like a cool winter thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what else in the winter time would be like kind of cool to take pictures of.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the trees are cool. The aspens are sweet. I got some cool pictures of the aspens I can share at some point.
Nice.
And then you can do it on like the river when it starts to ice over and then melt with the sun, and then it gets all blue and stuff. It's really cool.
Okay.
There's a bunch of shit, and then you can also do stuff inside if you want to use a studio area. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know you like more of the outdoor stuff, I feel like, but
yeah. I think if I had the space for a studio, it'd be different. And it'd be different if there was the demand for studio space or studio work in Red Lodge.
yeah.
But there's not quite the demand here for that. It's not quite the demand, and also my pricing. I probably price Red Lodge out a little bit. I want to charge a little bit more than people will pay.
Yeah. Well, you could always just kind of like have your name out there. So if anybody did want to do something like that, it'd be kind of like a good situation to try and get your foot in the door because it doesn't sound like anybody else really does it out there.
Oh no, there's people. There's everywhere you're at. There is probably 30 photographers, and then five that are been doing it professionally, like really skilled for a long time.
Hmm.
Every time there's a post for looking for a photographer, someone will tag me, and there's already 20 comments of other photographers in the area. It's same thing in Star Valley. I'm sure it's the same thing in Fort Collins. It's a very oversaturated market that it's hard to. For me, it's hard because I just don't push it that much because it's people aren't going to want to pay what I want to charge. Um,
Yeah, it's like that standout factor. It's like hard to stand out in a crowd of people who all kind of have the same interests sometimes.
yeah, I mean, like I think a lot of these people for a family photo shoot are trying to chart like if they're doing a. I mean, ideally, all my prices would start anywhere from $300 to $500 for like a session,
Hmm.
and for longer events, for full day events, it's upwards. It's higher than that. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard. So
that's fair. Yeah, you'd probably have to drop your prices, get your client base up, and then kind of slowly increase or get some sort of clientele going.
yeah, I mean, have a there's some stuff I'm working on that I'm not going to talk about on here yet, but we can talk about it after. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking outside the box, because I know that sometimes in the wintertime it can be a little bit dull and gray and kind of sad, and just seems like if you could find something to fill that time that was, I don't know. I know you like taking photos, but I know that it's also kind of like something that's only it's enjoyable when you're taking photos of the things you want to take photos of. It's not as enjoyable when it's required or there's some sort of like aspect of it that's not your interest. So I was just trying to think about what
Totally.
might be what might be something that could be kind of like a motivator, like a progressor to figuring out something like that. But
Money should be the motivator, but it's just like it's hard, man. It's hard to justify coming down on prices when the market is. I mean, I appreciate people that have cameras, and I've come to like I used to have a resentment towards people that didn't have like the experience or like the knowledge behind what they were doing, and they were just taking photos. And now I appreciate people at any level doing whatever they could do and making money, but it's hard to go down on price and lower
yeah,
that to fit a need that it's some of it's me being stubborn, but it's also some of it knowing what I'm worth. And as as you grow, I mean, I'm 12 years into this, um, knowing what I'm worth and keeping that, staying true to it is also something that's important.
yeah, I get that. Yeah, sometimes I think that people get too distracted by the money and they kind of lose themselves in the joy of it. So I think I mean, money's important, but it's also important to just remember why you're doing it. And you didn't start doing it for the money, you started doing it because you like taking pictures of other things. So
Totally.
yeah, it's just interesting to talk about that sometimes. I know it's probably a little bit too much for some people, but I enjoy those kind of deeper conversations once in a while. So
Yeah, man. I feel you. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it's tough. Like the thing that I'm most passionate about is music, and music photographers don't make shit. Like it's
yeah,
crazy. Venues don't pay musician or photographers anything. I mean, for I think people, it's anywhere from $75 to $155 per night for a night of shooting. Or you get in for free to see the festival or the show that you want. So, and then it might
right,
depend on the venue, but from what I
yeah.
understand, and some of the people I've talked to, you're traveling across the states to take pictures of musicians that you love, but I mean, you spend what in gas and what you make during that night, so that's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a good way to do that would be to get in with one person who was like traveling, and you could like go with them, and you could like make a movie for them, or make like some sort of, you could make their music videos, and somebody who like would value you because they know you make like, it's just hard because I don't know, people would have to like look up, does he do good work, and then there's probably a whole bunch of other people who are doing the same thing, and that's kind of just like the market rate is like $150, which is pretty much nothing, that doesn't really pay for anything. So somebody
Yeah.
who like knew you were good and was like, yeah, we'll give you like 10% of what we make, like make cool media for us. That would be like a really cool setup.
Oh, it'd be awesome. If I didn't have Poe, if I didn't get a dog at that time, like
Hmm.
I probably would have left Red Lodge or done something different and gone to explore a route like that. My first passion was going into sports photography, but it's like there's a balance in it. Like either you're living in a city where it's 1,000 miles an hour everywhere you're at, or you can live similar to, I guess Fort Collins it's busier, but it's a little laid back though too at the same time. You're in the mountains.
Hmm.
But yeah, being out in Red Lodge, it's like it's quiet, and it's as we're getting older, it's like what do we value more, and what do we want to be? What do we want more in our life? I'd rather be fishing, in the summer. I want to take that time to go fish and hike and explore, see
Yeah.
moose and bears, and so it's definitely like I look back, I'm like, man, I could have taken a different path, but I'm pretty solid with the path I took right now. Still figuring shit out, of course, but you know.
Yeah. That's a good feeling because you never know, it could have been better, but at the same time, it's like that doesn't really matter. It's like what matters is that I'm happy now and satisfied with where things have gone so far and going to keep working at it. And that's pretty much what life's all about.
Yeah, man, and it's like it's you do all these things, and it. I guess when you're younger, it feels like like that aha, like we made it. Like you hit that pinnacle of where you want to be, but it's really not about that. It's finding like that, like we were talking about earlier, like loving. I didn't start taking photos because I wanted to make money. I started because I loved it. So finding that love in what you do every day, like with Big Sky Bonus Tracks as an example, just do the plug. Um, you know,
Yeah.
I, we're not making we're supporting musicians by doing this service for them, and it's something that I love and appreciate, and it's like finding happiness in that, and knowing we're not making money with it right now, but like it's a fulfilling act, and it's pretty cool, and yeah.
And it's also like, in 20 years, you could look back on it and be like, well, I know how to do, and you can show people because you're making recordings and it's out there. It's like, I don't know, there's just something about it that even though it's not doing anything for you now besides teaching you how to do it and teaching you what you like and what you don't like, that's going to pay off later on in life if you come back to it kind of thing. So that's kind of how I think and what I hope for in the future.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you, and you know we got a lot of knock on wood. There's a lot more life left to live and keep growing, and yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. Cool, man. Well, I feel like unless you want to add anything else to that, I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, skip over some football. Nothing too crazy happened aside from
Yeah,
Russell Wilson getting drafted to the Giants. So
yeah. They signed him what, a week or a few days ago. Him and then
yeah, something like
Jamin
that.
Ice Winston. And yeah.
Yep.
But, all right,
Oh, and
man.
T
We
T
will
Higgins is back.
to the Bengals. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Jamar Chase. Lots of money.
lots
Lots
of
of money
money.
for sure. But yeah, man. We will catch you guys next time. Tune in. Send Tad an email about plants. Hit us up, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good week, guys. Peace.